Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Redberryweo here, and welcome to another interview. We've got an excellent guest speaker today with us from California Wing. Sir, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hello there. My name is Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Hoang from California Wing. Super glad to be here.
Okay, thank you, sir. So, first thing that we're going to talk about is that you mentioned that you have participated in Cyberpatriot. And not everyone knows what Cyberpatriot is. So, if you could go ahead and talk to us a little bit about what it is, and then talk about what your experience was like.
Absolutely. So, Cyberpatriot, I did the 2019 year for the competition. And then I've had friends who've done it other years and all that type of stuff. But in short, Cyberpatriot is it's a competition sponsored by Northrop Grumman and the United States, I think it's Sergeant or Air Force Association. And so in the competition, you as team members are trying to help make a computer system secure and also operational. So you might be given a platform like Windows, which everyone's fairly familiar with, and also Linux, which some people may not be familiar with, but it's also very familiar with all those who are really into the cyber world, just for being open source and also editable in a sense. Like you can add certain things to it to either make it more secure or more usable to your activities. But in short, in Cyberpatriot, you are going to be given a situation with one of these platforms where you have to secure it. So, for example, maybe there's an unauthorized user, so you need to remove this user. Or maybe Billy Bob Joe isn't supposed to be an admin. Maybe he needs to be a regular user. So you're going to have to change those settings. You might have to remove stuff or raise up the firewalls. This is just kind of, a short overview of what it could be, as we were only a fairly proficient team, not super advanced. But in short, when you are given all these challenges, you're going to have to work as a team because you have approximately 5 other teammates who are also working on different challenges at the exact same time as you. So you have to coordinate and figure out these challenges because they give you a sheet that says, like, we need A, B, and C done, but your computer system also needs to be doing this. And so you try to solve it, and after 6 hours, your time trial ends. And so then you're going to be graded on your performance. So how many of the tasks did you complete? Did you complete all the objectives? And then this will be compared to other teams in your division. They have different divisions. So they have a middle school division, so just for the middle school kids. And then they do have your high school division, and they also have the service division. So that's for all of the JROTCs, the Sea Cadets, Civil Air Patrol, Young Marines, if they're in there. I'm not sure if they're in there, but who knows? They're young Marines. So that's kind of the short synopsis of it.
So what was your experience like then? Like, what did you think of it?
So I was given Linux just because I was the senior cadet. And
you were given Linux.
You're old. You could figure it out. And I'm just like, wait. There's a chat box, and I have to type commands. This looks fun, I guess, but overall, I think it was a good experience because it taught me some of the basics of computer usage. So, how to uninstall a program, first of all. Just because you delete the little icon that's on your desktop doesn't mean the program is not there anymore. You have to erase all of it from your computer and then restart your computer to make sure those changes are permanent. So overall, it taught me some of the basics of computer security and just overall being safe on the computer and managing all your file and storage and such. And then also, in a sense, it was a growth in camaraderie and friendship with some of the cadets. Because a lot of the cadets who were on my team were a lot younger. So I had to kind of, figure out who they are, what are they interested in, how could we work better as a team, and hopefully do a bit better in the competition. And overall, it was just kind of a chance for us to have fun together because our coach would always buy pizza, and so we're always like, we'd take a break every hour and a half, snack a little, and then come back to work. So it just really taught, obviously, those basic security practices, but then also just, how to be a good friend to other people, which I think we need more of in today, at least.
It's always good to be able to get along with people and being able to connect as a team. So I'm glad that Cyberpatriot provided that opportunity for you to participate with your fellow cadets. But how would you say, well, I'll ask this in two different ways. How did your unit get involved with Cyberpatriot? And do you have any recommendations for people whose units do not currently do Cyberpatriot? And how did they get into it?
Absolutely. So we had a family come in from Nevada Wing, 2 sons and their dad. And so they've been fairly involved with Cyberpatriot in the past. And so they're saying, hey, we want to put on a team this year. And we're like, oh, what? You mean that's a thing? And so first year they tried it, they did fairly well. And so the second year I was like, you know what, I'm going to try it. I think this looks kind of cool. You know, I'm not really like super into it, but I think it'd just be good to at least learn some basics. And so I got into it. And so that's how it came to our squadron. Right now, it's currently not happening just with the COVID and the fact that we didn't have a really well-established team, and those members actually have either aged out or expired already. But I guess my advice for squadrons that either want to start a unit or have interest in it but don't know where to start is obviously, first of all, you know, find some people who are interested, or if not, find a senior member who'd be interested in mentoring you. They don't have to have any experience whatsoever in Cyberpatriot. They just need to be willing to support you every step of the way. That's just the number one thing. And then once you go from there, you know, they can start learning some of the basics. There's plenty of resources out there to help you along, to kind of guide you along the way. But the biggest thing is to get senior member help first, find some team members, and then learn. You know, not everyone is going to make it to nationals or regionals or whatever you want to call it, top of your state, every step of the way, like the first time over. It's just not possible. But once you at least get the first part down and you learn that, hey, I actually like this, I want to learn more, then you can start, you know, looking into other resources. And there's plenty of teams as well who have done phenomenal jobs. I personally have a friend who's in a squadron that went to national this year and won 3rd place in the service division. So I'm always willing to connect people if they want advice from these teams, or if they just want to know more resources, always willing to help. So at least best if I can. I'm more of a connector than an influencer.
That's great. So you actually knew someone who went to the national finals this year.
Yeah.
Or you know someone. You actively know someone. You still know them.
Yes. So he's on our CAC wing level. I work with him on a bunch of stuff, and I've worked with him in the past for different events like encampment and some leadership schools. So we're pretty good friends. And his squadron, Fullerton Squadron, went to nationals with 2 other teams in Civil Air Patrol, and they pulled off 3rd place. So not too shabby. That's pretty good.
How big is Cyberpatriot this year? Do you know? Do you know how big it was? Do you know how big the Cyberpatriot program was? Like how many teams there were? Or at least in the all-service division that Civil Air Patrol was participating in?
Ooh, I don't know those numbers exactly.
It's okay if you don't know. I was just wondering.
I know that Civil Air Patrol overall inputs 20% of all the teams that go into the Cyberpatriot competition, which is a lot when you consider that this is nationwide, and they're including like the middle school and the service divisions as well. So 20% of all the Cyberpatriot teams should be from Civil Air Patrol. So don't quote me on that. It's in the props.
Okay.
The actual number, but approximately 20%.
Wow. Because I think it's in the thousands in, like, the number of teams across, like, not just the U.S., but, like, internationally, too. So that's really cool. I'm glad that you had the opportunity to do it. Maybe next year your unit will go on to I don't know, like, nationals. Do you want to go to nationals? That'd be cool.
That'd be cool. I'm probably not the guy for that, but you know what? You could always try and see where you could take yourself. Just woo. So.
Do you know Stellar Explorers?
I do not, but I've heard about them, and it sounds pretty cool. So.
Well, what can you tell me about Stellar Explorers?
Sure. So, I know in the past. Well, first of all, what is Stellar Explorers? it's very similar to Cyberpatriot in the sense where it's another competition, but a different scenario though. So in this scenario, you are kind of acting like Space Command, or kind of in the sense where you are trying to launch something in a simulation and have it link up with a satellite in orbit around the Earth. And so there's obviously a lot that goes into it, like, how are you going to build it? How are you going to project it out? How do you coordinate the timing? Very broad, I'm sorry. But I know that at least in Oregon Wing, they've had 2 or 3 teams go up to nationals or finals, whatever they want to call it. Always a little bit of variance in there. And they've gone up, and it seems pretty cool. I personally have not met anybody in person from my wing or just in general who's done it and who can tell me about it. But I'm assuming the same steps apply, where you first want to get support before you start learning stuff and jumping right in.
So with Stellar Explorers, instead of coaches, you've got team directors. So that's one thing that differs in verbiage. But yeah, so it from what I know, it's a space system design competition where you work with a team between 2 to 6 people, and you use something called STK, which is the Systems Toolkit. And it's a software that aerospace engineers actually use when they are calculating orbits and like launching stuff off of the surface of the Earth into space, and like trying to adjust the orbit so that you get the maximum coverage of different regions, all that kind of stuff. So there's also launch vehicles, which I think you sort of mentioned, where you have to like pick what equipment you have for launching, and then what the satellite has as well. And I think it's a really cool opportunity. So if your unit, viewer, hello, I haven't talked to you in a little bit, but hi. So if you're interested, Cyberpatriot and Stellar Explorer are 2 national competitions that are run through the Air Force Association's STEM program, and they're both really great opportunities. So if you want to do them, links are down below. As Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Hoang has mentioned, well, Cyberpatriot just finished, and Stellar Explorers is currently wrapping up as of recording this video. But they have one competition every single year, regardless of what's going on in the world. Like Cyberpatriot still had finals last year. They had finals this year. It was virtual, but it still happened. So great opportunities to get involved. And Cyberpatriot has middle school available as an option. At this point, I don't think Stellar Explorers does right now, but in the future, maybe it will. We'll see.
Innovation.
So, since you're from California Wing, I got a question for you. Is there anything special or unique to California Wing specifically that other wings may not necessarily have?
Yeah. So the biggest thing, which I think it's our biggest event of the year, is called Cadet Programs Conference. And so just the name, you're like, oh, it's a conference. It must be so boring. Totally opposite. So, yeah, let me just brush off the shoulders here, because this is probably, I think, in my opinion, it rivals it's probably the coolest event you can go to that's not a National Cadet Special Activity. So, in general, it's always held over President's Day weekend. So it's that 3 to 4 day weekend, and so they have it where you all come in on Friday evening, and you leave Monday morning. And so it is like a regular conference where they have classes, they have a general event where everybody sits in and there's information spoken about, there's usually some awards presented, that type of stuff. But the twist is that it's all oriented towards cadets. So all the classes can be taught by cadets. All the classes can be cadet-oriented themes. So obviously there's the educational part, like, how do I get into a military academy? How do I become a firefighter? How do I become a flight sergeant at an encampment? But there's also some fun stuff, too. In the past, we've had a how to survive the zombie apocalypse. We've had a how to play chess, how to swing dance, how to yo-yo. Also some other fun CAP ones, too, like how to tie knots if you want to do a knot tying class. If you wanted to learn how to do jodies, they practice jodies. The last year that they had it in person, somebody brought a blacksmithing anvil and was showing cadets how to do blacksmithing, obviously with all within safety. But yeah, there's just it's crazy. There's all this fun stuff that you can do. that's just only on Saturday and Sunday. That's just the classes. Now, on Saturday evening, there's a event called the Activities and Career Expo. And so they obviously have all the educational stuff, like they'll have college ambassadors come, they'll have different directors and leaders of CAP events in California Wing, come and talk about what they're doing, whether it be using SUAS in emergency services, or the new ES event, or new leadership school, or cadet competition. But then we also have to try and have a bunch of games too. So there's a bunch of different games cadets can do, and we even try to include military rides. So recently we had it's like a low terrain, it's an MVTV for those of you who are interested and know what I'm talking about. Cadets got to take essentially like a hay ride in this thing across over to an airfield, and then they got to go touch and sit inside helicopters from 4 out of the 5 branches of the military. So if that's not cool, tell me what is. But that's one opportunity. That's on the Saturday evening. And then the Sunday evening, they have a full-out banquet. So it's obviously kind of like a dance, obviously with the professional dinner. But cadets have the opportunity to have a really, really nice meal. There's awards, change of command for the encampment staff that happens, a photo booth, a dance floor, and presentation of the colors in the POW MIA table as well. And then everybody does leave Monday morning. But overall, it's a super fun event, really oriented just towards cadets and having fun as well as learning things and getting all the information of what's going to come up in the year. Because that's where they also make all the big announcements of who's going to be the encampment senior staff, who's going to be the commander of the encampment, the cadet commander of the encampment, as well as, hey, there's going to be these leadership schools happening. And overall, this event's been really widely accepted. We've had almost every year, there's about 500 participants, primarily cadets. And then we've had, I believe, members from at least 5 different wings come to the in-person one. And then this year, they did bring it on virtually, and they had approximately another 500 participants, and they had people from Northeast region, so New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and it's just an awesome event. I can't praise it more than what I have already. It's just phenomenal.
So if someone wanted to do this in their wing, do you have any pro tips to get them started? Like what kind of logistics that looks like? How much planning does that require? Anything you recommend?
Yeah, so it's a really big undertaking if you do want to start doing this. So my suggestion is just do it bit by bit. So, start small. Don't be afraid if your first event is only 30, 50 people. You got to start somewhere. So, talk to your chain of command. Maybe utilize it through CAC and say, we would like to have a conference for cadets. Just kind of like how California Wing does it. Just for the East Coast, because it is a lot of work and money to fly out to the West Coast just for a 3 to 4 day weekend, kind of like us trying to fly out for Civic Leadership Academy. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of money, a lot of time. So, start small, get help, utilize the CAC. There's a lot of planning that gets involved. This event is planned prior to Christmas, and that's like 2 or 3 months before the event even happens. So it's almost like a full-on encampment's worth of planning, probably maybe like 2/3 of that. So, really think about, we're going to need lodging, we're going to need food, we're going to need transportation, obviously admin to take care of information and the finances of that. You're obviously going to need staff to man the event. You need instructors. You're going to need all this coordination. So, obviously we could talk more, nitty-gritty details offline or, on the side. But overall, you have to see the big picture. You want to get a lot of support and just plan ahead. That's my 2 cents.
That's great. Yeah, that's such an amazing event because I know I had heard that you all had done it virtually where it's basically like a game and that you have an avatar and then you walk around to like the different classrooms and then a little blip will come up on the screen and it'll be like, hey, go ahead and head over to the main briefing room, please. And so then you take your little avatar and you walk over to the main meeting room. And it's not the same as in person, but I'm so glad that you all had the opportunity to do something virtually that was a little bit more engaging than like using Microsoft Teams or Zoom to have this conference, because like you guys had just such a great platform to do it in.
Right. Yeah. It's just so fun, and like even though it was virtual, the virtual platform had super cool things. Like you could make your avatar dance, and so it could do Gangnam Style and
really
go off.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was. You could do like backflips with your avatar. It was pretty funky. And then I think the cool thing, which I don't know if it fully got utilized, was that people could actually use VR headsets, and so you could actually use that. I know that some people were having problems with it just because connection-wise, but overall I think that's just a cool option to have when you'd want to use it in the future.
Wow, that's so cool. I'm sort of jealous. Maybe I'm gonna have to find a cadet who's willing to run it where I am, because gosh darn it, that sounds so cool. I would have loved to do that as a cadet. I'll have to think on that one. But do you have any other experiences that you'd like to share with our viewers here?
I think really quickly, we want to talk about cadet competition. You know, what was that like and what's it all about?
Yeah.
So, for those of you who don't know what it's about, cadet competition is another competition. we're just racking through them off today.
All the competitions.
But, this one is primarily focused on the elements of cadet life. So obviously your leadership, your aerospace, your physical fitness, and your character development in a sense. So a lot of it is very heavy on the drill aspect. So you're going to be doing some flight drill, just doing your basic commands, left face, right face, marching around. You are going to have a lot of flag posting. You'll post the flag outside, you'll post the flag inside, and then you'll also have a color guard like drilling. So you'll have your riflemen and your flag bearers go out, and they'll have to march a certain pattern or series of orders that's given to them. In addition to that, there's going to be a PT portion. So each member of your team, extra along to that, you do go up with a team. You're not alone, which is so good. I'd hate to be the rifleman and the flag bearer. That would be interesting. But you do go up with a team. It's 6 of you. And then you might have some other people who come up either to be your public affairs or just to support you, whatever it might be. So there is going to be a physical fitness portion where you're going to have to do essentially your PT test, so your sit and reach, your sit-ups, your push-ups, and then your mile run. And then there's going to be there's a uniform one. So 2 members of your team will be inspected on your uniform right off the bat. They'll just call names, put you in a hallway, and then they're going to inspect your uniforms. Very, out of the blue. Haha, uniforms are blue. And then you're also going to be given a scenario, and you'll have to prepare the uniform according to those objectives. So, for example, Cadet Technical Sergeant Joseph has these ribbons and has been to this many encampments. What would his uniform look like? And so you have to put the ribbons on, put the insignia on, make sure that the uniform is ironed. If he has a cord for CAC, make sure that all his ribbons have their devices, whatever it might be. And then the last event is a cumulative, there's 2 more events. There's a cumulative test, so it's going to be leadership and aerospace knowledge. And then the last event is going to be a team leadership problem. So your team might be given, sort this deck into different piles, but you can't talk. And so you're going to have to figure out, communicate, hey, use your hands saying, all right, this person's going to do this person's going to do that. It might be talking through scenarios and having a discussion about an ethical topic, like should we as a doctor sacrifice this many for this one person because of a specific medicine, whatever it might be. And so usually you're going to be graded on how well do you work as a team, did you complete the objectives, are you adhering to the standards if it's for drill or uniform, and then for those tests it's going to be how many did you get right. So overall, it's just an assessment of how well are we doing as cadets. And so, who has the best team? And this obviously goes up to the echelons. So if you have a group, you're going to do your group competition. Winners of that will go to your wing level. the winners of wing will go to the region, and then whoever the winners of the regions are will be going to nationals. And if you pass the wing level and you go to the regions to represent your wing, you get to wear the ribbon. So I missed out on that. I kind of wanted the ribbon, but it's okay. Life is not about ribbons.
That pro tip for viewers here. Life is not about ribbons. It's about the experiences you get on the way to getting the ribbons.
Exactly. So
Cool.
if any of my cadets from the student when I staffed encampment, remember, it's not about ribbons. I doubt they're watching this, but you know what? Just gotta let them know.
Aye, sir. So, I think that was all the questions I have for you. So do you have any questions for me before I have my final question for you?
No, just shoot it.
Okay, so the question that I ask everybody is, if you have any words of wisdom, what would you like to bestow upon our viewers?
Everything in moderation. So, it just applies to everything. So whether it be, should I go to all the encampments this year? Should I staff all of them? Should I promote every 2 months? Should I wait as a chief forever? My answer to that is just take everything in moderation. So figure out, where am I in life? Do I have a couple more years where I could potentially reach spots? Or do I have to be diligent about my promotions in order to get there? Do you really need to go to 10 encampments this summer? Or, could you go to 1 or 2 and really have a good time with your friends while getting the training and the experience that is really important out of an encampment? So just take everything in moderation. I think that overall has just really guided my life. Don't spend 20 hours gaming all day. Maybe spend a couple hours, then go outside with your friends or something. Everything in moderation.
Great. Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. And so, Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Hoang is actually leading the charge on a fun little unofficial podcast right now. It's called the Swivel Chair Patrol Podcast, and it's available on multiple streaming platforms, and I will include a few links down in the description down below, so if you're interested in listening to those. There will be, at some point, an interview of me on that podcast, so if you want to check out their content, there's a partnership going on there, but they make some great content, and they're currently on a couple different episodes, so if you want to follow them as they grow into tremendous podcasters, is that the name you did for podcast people? I don't even know, but as they continue in their journey, and as you continue on your Civil Air Patrol journey, it's something else to look into. So thank you so much for watching, everyone, and we'll see you next time. Bye.